Hello there, thank you for joining us today. My name's Martin, I'm a cybersecurity advisor for the Business Enterprise Centre, and welcome to CyberSafe NT. CyberSafe NT is a collaboration between the Business Enterprise Centre, the Commonwealth Government of Australia and the Australian Cybersecurity Centre. And simply put, this programme of work exists to protect small and medium-sized businesses like yours. Cyber attacks are growing more and more, and small and medium-sized businesses are becoming the target as large companies and corporations invest millions and millions of dollars protecting themselves against cyber attacks. The focus has shifted to small and medium-sized business because, simply put, they're an easy target. So what we want to do is give you easy, simple, no jargon, no technical skill, no cost tips, tricks, techniques and advice for you to implement to protect your small, medium-sized business. So when most people think of cyber attacks, this is what they'll think of. Emails that are sent out to millions and millions of email addresses masquerading as African princes and Eastern European princesses, offering you half of their fortune in exchange for your bank details and your personal information. And they're easy to spot, and most people will look at that and think, how could anyone fall victim to that? And they're right, very few people are. Cyber attacks are now far more sophisticated. Attackers can masquerade as your suppliers, they can intercept emails, and they can even hold your business systems to ransom. So, we'll move on what we're going to cover today. First of all, we're going to introduce CyberSafe to you. Then we're going to go across the key areas of cyber threats. Next, we're going to show you how to spot a scam email. We're going to go through, most importantly, how you protect your small business against these threats, and how you protect your staff and you train your staff to protect your business against these threats as well. And the final most important part is we're going to run through something called Essential 8 with you. These are the 8 key areas to give you a baseline of protection against cyber attacks. Perfect, so we'll move on to the introduction. So most businesses we've found are failing to take even the most basic steps to protect themselves. And the most shocking statistic we've found is that the average cyber attack on a Northern Territory business will cost it $90,000, either in financial losses, fines through loss of data, or interruption to their business. And I don't know about your business, but most businesses would struggle to absorb this loss. And this is why over half of businesses will close their doors within 2 years after experiencing cyber attack. And most worryingly of all, 43% of all cyber attacks are targeting small and medium-sized businesses. So what are the key threats to your business, and how are you going to protect yourself against them? So we'll start with malware. Essentially, malicious software that's installed on your system through things like links, web pages, emails. There's multiple ways it can get onto your business systems, and chances are, once it's in there, you may not know it's there. Attackers can use this to trace your keystrokes, spy on you, harvest information, even lock your systems down completely. And worryingly, this can be done by anyone, anywhere in the world. Malware is available to buy off the shelf for a lot of cyber attackers. They can even rent it out. And there's multiple ways that you can take simple steps to protect your business against malware. We'll go into these in a little more detail later on in the presentation, but essentially for now, but making sure you back up your systems with automatic updates, utilize data backups, use a firewall, and use antivirus. Now we'll move on to phishing. The art is formerly known as scam emails. Essentially, it's dodgy emails, Facebook messages, phone calls, everyone's received them, designed to trick you out of money, data by harvesting information. everyone's a victim of this. It's simply a numbers game. Now, there are far more sophisticated techniques, and it's not just limited to emails. Scams can be very sophisticated and very hard to spot. So we're going to go through a few examples of phishing. So there's phishing, as you may have seen before, and as we saw in the email earlier. Dodgy emails sent out to millions and millions of people, designed so just a few of them may come back and fall for it, and that's all the cyber attackers want. There's then spear phishing. So these are targeted emails that utilize information of yours that is available on the internet. Information that cyber attackers may use to masquerade as suppliers, as customers of yours, to add a layer of authenticity to what they do. Next is whaling. Now, whaling is essentially going after very high value targets over a long period of time through very, very sophisticated attacks. So I guess a good example of this and a good place to start is the world's largest cyber attack, which happened to a Swiss airline part manufacturer, million dollar company, very, very wealthy company. And cyber attackers got into that by essentially targeting a low-level accounts employee through a phishing scam. They first of all masqueraded as a CEO by harvesting his details and by acquiring an old email of them. They targeted the low-level employee, masquerading as the CEO, asking that employee to transfer large amounts of money out of the company, and they actually shockingly got away with £120 million worth of they got away with £120 million. The CEO was fired, so was the employee, and the reason that this happened is there weren't proper protections in place within that company. So how you can protect your business against this is through things like staff training, using two-factor authentication on your business systems, passphrases versus passwords, and data backups, as well as sophisticated accounting processes. Next, we'll move on to ransomware. Now, I'm sure you've all heard of this. The news now is filled with very high-profile companies around the world falling victim to ransomware attacks. It's becoming more and more prevalent. What you don't hear is then in those news stories is the amount of small and medium-sized businesses that are also falling victim to ransomware. Essentially, what it is malware, like we described earlier, and what this does is lock down your business system or particular pieces of software or particular documents within your infrastructure to hold them to ransom, to make sure that you can't operate your business without these and you have to pay a ransom to get that back. Now, the best thing to cover now, never ever pay that ransom. You're not guaranteed to get these systems and software back in place, and you may find yourself falling victim to a second attack as well. And the best way to protect yourself against ransomware is through things like automatic backups, and especially backing up your data as well. Using firewalls, using antiviruses to stop the malware getting on in the first place, but I can't emphasize enough how important data backups are in this situation. And to give you an example of this, there was 2 IT companies in Darwin. Both fell victim to ransomware attacks. One had data backups, and it took them about 4 hours. 4 hours of stress and work to get their business back up and running again, and their clients' businesses back up and running again. A second IT company fell victim to a cyber attack. It took them weeks and weeks to restore all their systems, and in this time all their clients were out as well. So that emphasizes if you have those data backups, it gives you the chance to recover your business very quickly and not have to pay the ransom. Next, we'll move on to invoice frauds, which I'm sure you've all heard of before. One of the oldest scams in the book, but dressed up in new clothes. So essentially what invoice fraud is people masquerading as suppliers or customers of yours trying to extort money out of your business. Now, this may be done by sending fake invoices or re-invoicing for things that you've already paid. It may be done by intercepting invoices in between and changing bank details. It can be very, very sophisticated, and these sort of attacks are very, very common against small and medium-sized businesses that don't have large accounts departments, and things may fall through the gaps. So this is something you really need to take steps to protect your business against. So to give you an example of this, a member of ours wanted a new kitchen made. So he went out, he found the builder who was going to do it, asked for a quote, was very happy with that, all was good. He then received an invoice from the builder, paid it, great, can't wait for the work to carry on. Then a week later, he hadn't heard from the builder. Eventually, the builder contacted him chasing the quote, which the member said, I've already paid. Now, what had actually happened in this is that someone had intercepted that invoice either on the way to the customer or at the customer's side. So it could be on either side. They'd redirected it, changed the bank details on it, then sent it to the customer. So neither the builder nor the customer really knew there was anything wrong. The invoice was paid to the bank details, and that was that. The money was lost, and it's hard to determine whose side it actually happened on. So, brilliant ways to protect yourselves against invoice fraud. Accounting techniques such as three-way matching. There's no easy answer for this. It's got to come through streamlining accounts processes, spending time with your staff and training them, and taking the extra time when you're paying invoices. Also, alongside that, there's obvious wins. If you receive an invoice from a supplier and the bank details are different to ones you normally have, call them and ask them is the easiest way to protect yourself. If anything on that invoice raises red flags for you, it's best to double check before you pay it. So three-way matching, I mentioned that previously. It's a brilliant way to protect your business against invoice fraud. Essentially what it is matching a supplier invoice versus the original order and against the goods received in documents. That's it. You check the invoice against all those areas, and that will give you a level of protection, and hopefully either you or your staff will spot when someone's trying to scam your business. So next we'll move on to how to spot a scam. The next 4 examples you see may be real emails, they may be fake. We want you to tell and identify the areas that make you think they're real or they're fake. So here's the first one, an email potentially from the Australian government. Now have a look at this, see if you think it's real or fake, and then say out loud why. Probably the most obvious one. It's fake. There's multiple fonts on the email. It isn't personalised to anyone, and I think we all know by now that government agencies aren't going to email you and ask you to reply by return email with all your personal information. This was an easy one to get us started, but they do get more sophisticated. So have a look at this one, tell me what you think. Is it real or is it fake? So a bit of a tough one. It's real, and there's easy ways to spot this. So the most obvious giveaway, and something you should check on all your emails, does the sender address match the contents of the email? The email's personalised to you, so it's a good sign, and it matches the addressee. And if you hover over the link in the email, it matches the sender address as well, so you can see they both have goodtogive.ngo, which reinforces that it's a legitimate email. Well, moving on. Next one from Coles, offering you a chance to win a gift card. Real or fake? So slightly harder to tell. There's a level of sophistication to this, but if you examine it closely, there's subtle spelling mistakes and there's extra letters in the email address. I don't know if you spotted it, but customer service at coles.com doesn't seem legitimate to me. There's a sense of urgency trying to get you to just click quickly. And check again, as we did before, the hyperlink in the email isn't taking you to a Coles website. So that's the easy way to tell. The next one, 2 text messages. It's not just emails. Now, which one of these 2 text messages do you think is legitimate from the government? So if you guessed the second one, text message B, you're correct. The reason for this is easy to spot. One goes to an official government site, the other one is directing you to coronavirus guidelines online, which does look legitimate and sometimes people will fall for it. Now, a good way to protect yourself against things like this, if you ever receive an email or a text message asking you to click a hyperlink and enter information, it's always better if you just go directly to that site through your internet browser. Don't click on the link if it's from your bank or the government or the ATO. Go directly to their webpage instead, and you'll be able to enter the information there regardless of if it's legitimate or not. It's easy to protect yourself that way. Okay, so hopefully you got all of those right. That tool is available online also if you want to use it to help your staff spot emails. So there's certain red flags that you'll see on all of those emails. Either asking you to provide personal information by return email or text message, inconsistent use of language, messaging or fonts, which is an immediate red flag, and anything that isn't personally addressed to you, the sender. So think before you click on a link. So the links themselves can redirect you to scam web pages to harvest information, or they can contain malicious software like we described earlier. Never provide any details via a link if you're unsure about it. Like I said before, go directly to the web page and you'll be able to enter the details there if it's legitimate. And if anything raises a red flag to you, the best way is just to contact the sender directly. Give them a call if it's someone pretending to be a supplier of yours and ask, is it legitimate? Did you send this? It seems basic, but it's the easiest way to protect yourself. Alright, so we've discussed the threats. Let's move on to how you can protect your business. So what countermeasures can you employ? Auto updates. I'm sure we're all familiar with these, that annoying pop-up that most of us ignore or click remind me later, remind me later, remind me in 2 months. All of us do this because we don't want to spend the time restarting our computer or waiting for the update to install. However, it's really, really important that you automatically update all of your business softwares across all of your devices regularly. And the reason for this is simple. Although some of those updates may be bug fixes or updates to improve efficiency on your devices, a lot of the updates will be protecting those systems against vulnerabilities that are found. And these vulnerabilities are either businesses that have been cyber attacked through those vulnerabilities, or when the businesses themselves have tested them, they've found that a certain area may be vulnerable to a cyber attack. And as we all know, cyber attacks are constantly evolving. So the only way to really protect all your systems against these is to make sure you update them constantly. Next, and as we discussed when we were talking about ransomware, automatic data backups are so important, and there's multiple ways you can do this. You can back up to the cloud through low-cost, very cheap cloud storage software. Things like Microsoft 365 a lot of the time have it included. Dropbox, there's many systems out there, so go and have a look at the one that's right for you. Or you can back up all your systems to an external storage device. The most important thing with this, if you're backing up that way, make sure you disconnect that device from your network once the backup's complete. Otherwise, if there is a ransomware attack, that device can be compromised in the same way that all your computers do. Now, the frequency that you need to update depends on your business. Some businesses will do weekly updates, some daily. Some businesses, if they're constantly doing work and needs time to get that data back, may back up 3 times a day. So choose a frequency that's right for your business. The second one, which is very new, and some of you may have experienced this before, multi-factor authentication, which some of you may have experienced through systems like Xero, where it's now mandatory to have multi-factor authentication on their system. Essentially what this is having, as well as a password or a passphrase to get onto that system, another factor of authentication. This may be biometrics, it may be done through an email, or through a text message or an authenticator app asking you to enter another code. But it's really, really important that you have multi-factor authentication enabled on all of your systems and all the software that you use. And the reason for this is simple. Cyber attackers can now brute force through passwords or use dictionary attacks, which is a more sophisticated method of brute forcing into your systems. So having multi-factor authentication eliminates that threat, because alongside a password, they'll need to enter a code as well. It makes your systems significantly more protected. And if you want to know more about how to protect individual systems, both on the Business Enterprise Centre CyberSafe website or the Australian Cybersecurity Centre, we have extensive step-by-step guides that will take you through the steps to enable two-factor authentication on all your systems. So that's how you protect your software. And having all these levels of protection on your business systems is fantastic. However, there is still another key area of vulnerability, and that's the people within your business. So first and foremost, employee training. Your employees are the first and the last line defense against cyber attacks. So having regular cyber awareness training is a fantastic way to upskill your employees and prevent cyber attacks. Have cyber training in your induction process when you're taking in new employees, and write into your employees' contracts that they have to abide by your rules around cyber protection. The next step, and a brilliant easy win for a lot of businesses, is having a cyber incident response plan. It's important that as soon as you may fall victim to a cyber attack, you respond to it straight away. Time is of the essence. So having this plan, making your employees aware of it, and rolling that out across your business will make your business significantly better protected if a cyber attack occurs. The next is regular staff training against cyber threats, reinforcing that, and then also upskilling them around new threats that may occur. And if you want more information on this, you can find it on the Australian Cybersecurity website. Next step is access control. You would be shocked how many businesses don't have this across their systems. And this essentially is limiting what an employee can access in their systems to be able to do their job and nothing more. So for example, your sales team don't need to know your business accounts and your financial data, so don't give them access to it. It's minimizing the risk of unauthorized access to information, and that protects your business both against internal sabotage, which we all don't like to think about because we all love our employees, right? The next step is around if that particular employee, say the salesperson, falls victim to a cyber attack, they don't have access to then get into your company's financial records, and it's as simple as that. It's the principle of least privilege. You're just giving your employees access to everything they need to do their jobs well. The next and most important thing, don't share passphrases across your organisation. Make sure everyone has their own individual passphrases. And most importantly, and you'll be shocked how often this occurs, If an employee leaves your business, revoke all their logins straight away. It's a simple one, but a lot of businesses fall victim to it. So moving on, passphrases. You've probably heard me mention this a bunch of times throughout this video and wondering what they are. Essentially, it's the new password. It's a more efficient way to protect your business through something that's easy to remember, and it's not just using a single word or a single combination of letters password. Essentially what it does is give you greater protection against brute force and dictionary attacks, and you should roll out passphrases across your business and train your employees how to use them. So up on screen now, you'll see some examples of this. So first of all, brute force attacks, and essentially this is sending millions and millions of password attempts in attempts to crack your password. There's then something called dictionary attacks, which are far more sophisticated brute force attacks, and essentially what this does is uses various combinations of words throughout the dictionary in combination with numbers, letters, symbols. They can even incorporate previously used passwords of yours that may be available online and do variations on those. So here you'll see a few passwords. Password 123. One of the most commonly used passwords on the planet, and it can be cracked instantly. Chances are they probably won't even have to do a brute force attack or a dictionary attack on this one. So now you'll look down at the next two passwords, spaghetti 95 exclamation mark and spaghetti exclamation mark 95 with a 5 instead of an S, and probably think those are quite secure. Those are similar to what I use in my business, and they probably used to be, but against brute force attacks, these are very, very easy to crack for cyber attackers, as you can see from the next two columns. For example, spaghetti 95 exclamation mark can be cracked by a dictionary attack in less than half an hour by a cyber attacker and cost them $6.10 to crack. Very, very easy, and we want to make this as difficult as possible for them to get into your systems. Even if we scroll down further and look at the random combination of numbers and letters. Now, the issue with this password and why it's so easy to crack is, although it's sophisticated in the random nature of the symbols and letters, it's only 7 characters long, so it can be cracked in a couple of hours and only costs a cyber attacker $30 to crack. Very, very simple. So what we're suggesting for you to use today is something called passphrases. It's essentially a long number of words that can be easily remembered by you. But the important thing here is the length of the password. So you can use things here like your favourite film quote, your favourite song lyric. As you can see here, I don't like pineapple on my pizza. It may seem simple, but it'd take a cyber attacker more than 40 days to crack this using a dictionary attack and over a year to crack using a brute force attack. In essence, they're not going to get in using passphrases. It's also easy to remember, so the important thing here is the length. So have a think of your favourite film lines or your favourite song lyrics and use them with passwords across your business. Now we're going to give you something to take away from this and start to implement across your business to give you a base level of protection. This is Essential 8, and these are the 8 areas of vulnerability that have been identified where you should put a base level of protection in. Now, don't be scared by the technical language in this section. Although it's written by the Australian Security Centre, each action on this list we have a step-by-step guide for both on the Business Enterprise Centre /CyberSafe website or the Australian Cybersecurity Centre website, and you can go to those and take simple steps to protect your business. So the first thing we want you to do is implement this, which is level 1. This is the base level of protection in these 8 areas. From that, and once you've got that, it's then against fortifying your security. So that you'll work towards level 2 and then level 3. It's as simple as that, really. But all we're doing here is strengthening your infrastructure and making you a lot harder target for cyber attackers. The next thing we want you to do, as we discussed earlier with the phishing, the malware, the ransomware, emails are an easy way into your business infrastructure, both with yourself and with your staff. So we've put in place something, a 10-second email check, paddle. And we want this to become routine, habitual for you, something that you'll naturally do. When you look at an email, you'll find yourself automatically doing this. And this is a way of checking against scam emails or raising red flags to yourself. So P, is the email personalised? A, does the sender address match the email? Does it look legitimate? D, are there difference in languages, difference in fonts, or different messages? A, is it asking you to click a link or open an attachment or send details? And L, if there is a link, don't click, check. Finally, we're moving on. This is a checklist around people and procedures. We've covered off business systems in detail, and by putting in place the essential 8, you've protected your business systems there. However, as we said previously, your staff and the people in your organisation are your first and last line of defence. So here's a checklist on different things that you can do to protect your staff and stop cyber attackers getting in that way. So by doing things like establishing access control systems, using strong passphrases, multi-factor authentication, this is something you can take away and roll out to your staff as part of your staff training. And finally, it's not just this workshop. Here are several other resources that you can use to protect your business. First of all, bcnt.com.au/cybersafe. We'll have lots and lots of information, guides, links and resources for you to use. Secondly, the Australian Cybersecurity Centre and their webpage, cyber.gov.au. Also a fantastic place for information and resources. We have step-by-step guides on the CyberSafe webpage. So if there's one thing that we'd like you to take away from this course today, it's not just to attend the workshop and use the resources. It's around changing your habits, changing the culture within your business. So we want these things and all the advice and the tips to become habitual for you. And that's why at the end of the course, using the paddle email analysis and implementing the essential 8 will really help you do that. And that's everything. Thank you very much for your time today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. If you need any more information on CyberSafe NT, if you're worried you might have fallen victim to an attack or need more information to protect your business, please get in touch with the Business Enterprise Centre today. Thank you and have a nice day.